Good morning, Phil.
Morning, Sandy.
How are we?
I'm grand, you?
Good. Absolutely fantastic. So we've got Phil Monaghan back here in Bolton, 96.5 Bolton FM studios, which is where we do Sandy's Bash Blog live podcasts. You're in the hot seat, Phil. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So
Excited.
you've good. You've saved the day, haven't you? Because we should have had two guests in today, and both of them have not been able to make it.
Right.
So this happens, and this is where Phil's now. I think this is 3 times he's rescued these Sandy's Bash blogs. So, on a personal note, thank you very much, Phil.
No worries. Yeah, I've sort of could just dip in between things.
You managed to fit us in, haven't you?
I have done, yeah. So that's why I'm here to sort of have a bit of a chat over different things today.
Coolio.
Subjects.
Yes. So we're going to touch on a few subjects that we mentioned there. So Phil, the subjects for today's matter.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to be discussing today?
We're going to be talking a little bit about phobias. That's a big one. A little bit more about depression. We've talked about that in the past just a little bit. And obviously other little things we've spoke about again in other podcasts we've done. So we're just covering quite a few different things again today.
Cool. So the first one, the first word that we're talking about here. Can you just give us a little insight into if somebody comes to you with that problem, how do you start addressing these things?
With the phobias, you mean?
Yeah, with phobias.
The thing with the phobias, really, the first thing you explain to somebody is that it's something that you can get over. I mean, a lot of people carry sort of phobias with them for many years. I mean, I've had clients come and see me who've had them for like 30, 40 years, and now they've not got them. It's unbelievable that, because I think it's the anxiety that's attached to that. They're frightened to go for help, and again, we're talking about their belief system about that, what they've heard on the media, what people say, things like that, and they're sort of fearful of what people might think of them. Really, that they've got this little daft thing they've got, and they don't want anybody knowing, and that's really what it's about. So that's the first thing to sort of get them to understand that it's something that can get over. And you've got to remember, if somebody's had a phobia for like 40 years and I'm telling them they can get over it, it's quite a big task, really.
Yes, it's a tall order, isn't it?
It's a tall order, yeah. So that's really the first thing that I mentioned to them, so that you can do that.
So what do we're just touching on, if you've just joined us, everybody, thank you. We're here at 96.5 Bolton FM. We've got Phil Monaghan from the Self Mastery Programme. We're talking, the first thing today, we're talking about phobias before we touch on to the massive subject of depression. What's the biggest phobias that you tend to cover, Phil?
I think not so much the biggest, but that obviously what people would sort of come with is fear of flying.
Good one. Fear of flying. That's interesting. Well, I've got a lot to talk about on flying. I can tell a lot of stories, but
because if you've got, we'll pick a subject, can we pick what phobia that I could sort of explain that with. If you've got, let's say, a phobia of speaking to people.
Yeah. You mean public speaking, or just generally just going into a room with people and
room, avoiding people? That's just like a general phobia about that. If you look at that, you can avoid that, can't you? Because you can say, if somebody has to go to a party, there's going to be somebody there. You might feel a bit daft standing up and talking to people, a bit silly. You can just say, oh, I feel a bit ill, or you can make an excuse up, can't you? So you just don't go.
Right.
If you look at fear of flying, you've got to look at, there's a whole lot of things involved there. It's quite different, because you've got, maybe if you booked an holiday, you've got your kids and you've got your wife, you've got to look at, wow, you're letting a lot of people down there. If you think about it, it's not just about you, it's about other people. So, and that's really what I find, that people come with that because they don't want to let the kids down. They've booked a holiday, they're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And that's really why they come forward with that, because it's affecting the life in a major way, in a big way. If you look at the fear of talking to people, you can avoid and get away from that.
Yeah.
Where if you booked a flight and you paid thousands of pounds,
Yeah.
you put a little bit more effort in.
That's a good point. Yeah, we've got Adele and Paul watching us. I'll just come and sit in the hot seat with you. I've just been setting the camera up. Thanks, Phil. So, guys, if you've just joined us, good morning and welcome to Sandy's Bash Blog. We're just we're just waiting to get a few people on board. Just moving a little bit, Phil. There we go. We're here on it's just in case you're wondering, the Sandy's Bash Blog.
Oosh.
Oosh.
Yeah.
So we're touching on phobias. The one that you've just said there about going into a room, and then you're saying if you book a flight with your family, oosh. If you book a flight and you've never been on a plane, so go carry on from there, Phil.
Yeah, if you've never been on a plane, you know, you're going to start getting a load of sort of grief from your wife. Your kids are going to be pecking your head. It becomes a whole different ballgame then, doesn't it? You know, you don't want to let them down because they mean a lot to you. But obviously, with the fear of like speaking to people, you sort of cajoled yourself into not going for any help by just avoiding it, haven't you, over the years?
Yeah.
So you can get away with it. So yeah, the fear of flying is really up top on the list, really.
Is it?
For people.
Right.
It
That's
is.
interesting.
And then people could have had that. The really strange thing about what I've realised about the fear of flying, and the other thing that I spoke about, the social anxiety or the phobia of that, is when somebody comes to me with fear of flying, they might never have been on a plane before.
That's obviously that's
You know?
obviously the case, really, isn't it? If you've never been on one,
you
you
would
would be
think
scared.
of it, but
Yeah.
you think of that differently. Is why would you be frightened of something that you don't know about? It's a bit odd.
Well, that's fear of the unknown. That's
If it-
that goes with everything, doesn't it? I mean, you know, anyone who, you know, you say to somebody, oh, I'm doing a bungee jump at the weekend. Oh, I couldn't do that, or I can't do that. The old, well, as I always say, can't. Take the T off that. You know, the instant thought of something that scares people.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, so the fear of flying. So what would you do on a typical day then, Phil? How would you address something like that? I mean, obviously, you know, if you want to learn how to do this, obviously, Phil, you know, you would at the end of this podcast, we'll give some details of how to contact Phil. But you know, how would you just give us some basics of what you know? How would you conquer that fear? Just as somebody's watching this now and they've never flown, or they have, even like you said, they could have flown and really still very scared. They've never addressed it. All of a sudden, they're just getting really anxious.
Yeah.
You know, what are the simple ABCs?
Yeah. The first thing I would look at is if say somebody has booked a flight, are they looking at to take the family on holiday, which is sort of a one-off, maybe once a year or something like that. If you look at somebody who's been in a job for years and all of a sudden they've got a promotion and they've got to start flying here, there and everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's still fear of flying, isn't it? But it's a different concept, because you've got to approach it differently.
Right.
If you're looking at somebody who's booked a holiday and just want to go with the kids once a year, it's a lot easier, because what you do there is you look at bringing the person in, and what you do, you get them to write down what they're fearful of, the words they're using. We've been through this on the blog.
Yes.
First step.
Right.
Write everything down. What's your fear? The fear of the unknown. Basically, like I just said before. Write everything down, the words you're actually saying to yourself, and look at how you could change them, first of all. So you start doing that. And then what we do is, when you're sort of got a fear of something, you've sort of got the fight or flight response, haven't you, that you mentioned. That's another thing you help them with then. So we're looking at some relaxation techniques to bring that stress level down. So you teach them that. I'll teach them how to do that. So how they do that is they sort of get to a nice relaxed state and they visualise things that they've done in the past that they like doing.
Right.
So in that state of mind. And as you're going along, what you do, you swap that for the fear, so to speak. So you're swapping and changing in your mind. So 1 minute you're on a beach, and and the next second you're sort of walking up to the plane. So what you're doing, when you first think of the fear of flying, it's like 100% up here, okay. But when you start doing the techniques, you find that the level's coming down. That stress, that fight or flight response, because you're changing in your mind.
Right.
So if you do that over a couple of weeks, you get really good at the relaxation. And that's what you do. You use like what we call anchor points.
Yeah.
Basically what you do. The technique that I teach my clients is, once you've mastered the technique of going into the visualisation, going into a nice relaxed state, I teach them to maybe squeeze a finger and thumb together while they're in that state, so they're in the subconscious state, and then you connect that feeling with the squeezing of the fingers and thumbs together. Okay, so you practice that. So it's like a connection to that. So that in turn then triggers the feeling, if you will. So when you're in sort of a waking state and you feel a little bit anxious, you squeeze your finger and thumb together, and it releases that feeling, like a connection to that.
Right. Well, it's interesting to say that, because in meditation, when you see people do, this sign of like this, the second finger in and the thumb, it's part of meditation, that, isn't it?
It is.
And I've only done a little bit of meditation. Like, people have asked me this question a lot. Sandy, do you meditate? And I said, well, I have done, and I probably don't do enough. We don't do enough of it in the Western culture, do we? We're too busy. We're led by the nose, by Western ways, and we just are, and these damn things,
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the phone has just moved slightly. Let's just put that back up where we can. There we go. Sorry about this, guys. Just a bit of adjustment to the camera.
All the mod cons and everything we've got in here.
There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. It was slipping. Hot custard pies, by the way. I'll just throw that in subliminally. The Paddy McGuinness podcast on Friday, which is amazing, by the way. You were saying about this finger and thumb. Anchoring. There you go. It's a nice little thing to think about, because if you think why a lot of people smoke, and I mean, obviously that's something you do, smoking cessation as well, don't you, Phil?
I do, yeah. I know thousands of people.
Yeah.
Stop.
And I think what a lot of it is, I mean, I just picked up this, I don't know if you've noticed this before, guys, I was flicking the pen around. This is a cigarette to some people, isn't it?
It is.
And people, they always say, why do you smoke? You ask this question, you know this better than I do. When you ask people, why do you smoke? And they say, well, a lot of people, for the most part, enjoy it. But for a lot of part, it's because they've got something to do with the fingers. So it's like you get some people with rosemary beads. They do a lot. You get a lot of religious people do that.
That's right,
They play with the beads, they're moving them around, and this stops them from doing this. And so you'll get people, playing with the pen, twitching it. I mean, I do this only because I just like finger exercises, and I've seen somebody doing this once, and I tried to master it. What they did, but put it through all the fingers, and I must have dropped it 1,000 times before I could do it. Still can't do it properly, but basically it's just doing stuff like this. And while you're doing that, I call these little things, it's like minute moving meditation. Yeah. So if you're doing something like this, it's not necessarily nervous. I'm not nervous, sat in front of you, and you're not nervous with me. But if somebody was in front of a camera, which, we're in a studio here, we talked about that, didn't we, in the canteen, about the amount of people, talented people out there, that if you shove a camera in front of the face, or, one of these, get a microphone, and just suddenly this changes. Pop that in front of somebody and the camera there, and watch the dynamic change of people. It's incredible.
It is.
How people crumble, isn't it?
It's unbelievable, really. A lot of that we talked about as well is going to getting out your comfort zone. That's another thing as well. With the phobia, that's what it is, isn't it? Getting out your comfort zone. So the more you practice something, I mean, obviously, when I first came in here, months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, when you did your first
4 or
one.
5 months.
Yeah, I mean, you was nervous, weren't you? I mean, understandably.
Obviously.
I'm not saying that sounds awful. It sounds like I'm labelling you there.
Being at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's your first time. I mean, same for me. I've got a saying that there's a first time for everything, Phil, isn't there?
Yes.
And people think, oh, Sandy, it's all right. You can do this. You do it all the time. You go commentating around the world. You've been on TV. You've been in a film. It doesn't make me better than anybody, by the way. I've trained thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the years, and the only way I can teach and train people is I've got to be able to communicate. And that's something I'm still learning. I'm still learning this. I'm still learning presenting. I'm still learning interviewing. I'm still learning commentating. There's far better commentators and MCs out there. Master of ceremonies, because I do a little bit of ring announcing as well. That isn't my main cup of tea. My main thing, what I like, I prefer doing commentating. I love, and that might sound mad to a lot of people who know me, because I like being in front of a camera, but actually sometimes I don't. I prefer being behind the camera. I prefer sometimes just, doing my commentating. This is what I tend to do, guys. There's 3 computer screens. You probably can't see them, I've got a finger, but I sit like this, Okay, and I have a little thing here, and I've got the screen there, I've got the boxing ring there in front of me, and I go to work like that, and I actually love that. And the reason why I like that is because it's the best seat in the house. I'm right here ringside, all the action's there. It's a VIP seat to me, and I get to talk about the sport that I've physically and mentally done for 41 years next month. It's a privileged position, and all the the people that I do this for, all the different people I've worked with, FFC, Final Fight Championship, Orsat Zovko, the president, Donatus Simonitis for King of Kings, Malvin Manhoff and Tamara, the one who I do for WFL. I've done all different shows, I've done in Thailand, different parts of the world, Kuala Lumpur. I did the Challenger Muay Thai. I've had these amazing opportunities, Phil, but I didn't get them through being microphone/camera shy. I've had to conquer that phobia myself.
Yeah, so it is a difficult thing to do. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is
Hard,
achievable.
Yeah.
It's like anything. That'll say quite a lot, that you've got to really break through that fear. I've done quite a lot of live videos. I keep saying that all the time, but you've really got to step up to the plate really and get through that. And it sounds easy to say.
Hard to do.
It's a bit difficult to do.
Yeah.
But there is a way forward, and I think the more help you get, I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking for help, Sandy.
No, this is just pick you up on that point. It's not. Okay, it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. There's one of my sayings before. I know we've met many years ago, Phil. We've sort of come back together at this point in our lives. Yeah. But for many years, I've lots of sayings to people. When they come along and see me, I'm not a psychologist, but in essence, I have been one for a lot of people because mind, body, sport, mind, body, spirit. Mind, body, kick-ass moves. My mate Chris Crudelli, who did that on TV. Yeah. If your mind's not right, you're not right. It's as simple. I mean, just the other day was, this World Mental Health Day, and we talked about this, Phil, and I keep saying it. I had the other young man on, Robbo, the other week, a lovely guy. He, gave us this story about mental health, what happened to him. He was that close to dying. If he hadn't been took in hospital, he would have died at the age of, I think it was 15 or 16. He went down to, I think it was 38, 39 kilograms, a teenager. Yeah, that's the weight of a child, and he was 15, and he was the weight of a 6-year-old child, and he was suffering massively, with anxiety, depression, different things. But it wasn't like a depression as he wasn't depressed per se. He was just very much into what he was doing, and he stopped eating through it, and he ended up with an eating disorder. Which is, all these things are linked together, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're all. If you look at all those things we're speaking about, they're all got a connection. They're all related to, on a social level in society.
Yeah, society's a lot to answer for, hasn't it? I mean, for what if you think about it, it's all right. Pointing the fingers. I always say, sometimes you have to do this, and. It's all right saying, it's the government's fault, it's the NHS fault, it's the doctor's fault, it's the nurse's fault, it's all these people's faults, but my own. And, sometimes, one of the best things I ever got told, and I have done this, I'll physically admit to it, okay, I have actually gone to a mirror, somebody told me this, and it's time to take a long, hard look at yourself. You're doing, if you're blaming him, her, him, her, and him, and you're saying they're all wrong and you're right, take a hard, long look at yourself. And one of my friends told me that years ago. And it took a lot for him because obviously in Thai boxing, in instructors and stuff, because obviously they look up to you and you're supposed to be the top of the tree. But we make mistakes. I'm human. I've not got it right every time. Yeah. And when I was making, I was having these problems with certain people in my network. Yeah. The one of your sayings, and the similar saying to mine is, I always say keep keep a good network of people around you. That's absolutely crucial. Your saying is the one about the
birds of a feather.
Birds of a feather flock together.
Talk about that.
Yeah, you don't get birds flying over with pigs, do you? Have you ever seen a flock of pigs? Yeah. Have you seen a flock of hot custards? Yeah. It doesn't happen. Birds of a feather stick together. You'll get pigs together. You'll get cows together in a field. You know what I mean? You might get the odd other animal integrating there, and mixing a little bit. Yeah. They'll allow that. But it's about keeping good company around you. And if you're going to knock around with, say, you're going to 10 of your friends all smoke and you don't, it'll take a very strong mind for you not to. I mean, that in my case, I can do that, and in your case, but we're not better than you or anybody else. But how did we get to that?
Yeah.
And it's all done through what I was saying about this finger. It's all right blaming A to Z.
Yeah.
All you lot are wrong and I'm right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to make adjustments, and sometimes you've got to say, right, I need to change the way I think. And that's one of my sayings: change the way you think. Your positivity for me is a way of life.
Yeah.
Because you can wake up in the morning and decide to be, right, I'm in a bad mood. I don't feel right, so I'm in a bad mood, and everyone's having it. And you can carry that through your day. Or you can choose to wake up in the morning, like you told me prior to here, you've got up, you did a little bit of, you say meditation?
Yeah, a bit of exercise.
A bit of exercise, you've been running around Queen's Park, you've done a bit of meditation.
Yeah, a bit of that. Yeah, it's really good. Just anything at all, you just get moving. Get your adrenaline going.
I mean, obviously, not everybody. I know I've got friends that might be watching this now. They haven't physically got the capabilities to go for a run, or through an injury, through illness, whatever. They're just not able to do something physical. What would you say to someone, excuse me, Phil, that couldn't physically get motivated? How would you do it? Because then you're only relying on your mental state as opposed to your mental and physical state.
Yeah. What I would do with that, I would sort of look at getting them to do the meditation, really. And sort of learn those techniques of visualising, doing those kind of things, because believe it or not, you sort of when you're into sort of meditative state and you're visualising, you get all these neurons firing in your brain to all your muscles and nervous system. Your mind doesn't actually really know the difference between what's real and what's not real. It just does.
Right.
Yeah, this doesn't have a grey area. It does it or it doesn't.
Yeah, this is what we touched on. It's yes, no, isn't it? There's no
yes,
maybes
no.
or
maybe I
mights.
do that. But
yeah,
that's why a lot of once you get something sort of ingrained in your mind, really, you start firing different neurons. Your mind learns a different way of doing something, and that's why you can overcome adversity. That's really what you're doing. You're training your brain and your mind to overcome that. So if you sort of physically can't do it, mentally do it. Think of you being there. Think of what it feels like.
Good point.
That's what you do.
Good point. So I mean, a lot of things are based through distraction as well, aren't they? And occupying your mind with positive things. Like, if your mind's whizzing at 1,000 things and you need to stop for a second, they say, some people say, let me get off this world, it's spinning too fast. Sometimes you've just got to stop, have a moment, think, pick up a book, pick up a magazine, pick up something that's going to make you distracted from the negative things that's doing. It's very hard to do because once you're in a stressful state, especially if you're stressed, that's very difficult. Somebody, when you're in the middle of this, like, your veins are pumping, and you're like this, and somebody just goes, oh, chill out, have a cup of tea and sit down. Actually, really, that is, for as much as it's not what you want to hear, it's actually the best thing you could do. Sometimes you've just got to, stop, get off the planet for a minute.
There's ways of doing that, obviously. That's. I mean, I tell people to do really daft things like make yourself a brew and say you've done a good job and things like that. And look at me thinking, oh, I feel whatever, And it's
that's a good one.
It's
I like that.
No, you don't understand that. You've got to take that first little things and move it up step by step. Do a little thing. And when I was first learning about the mind,
Make a brew.
there was a book. What's it called now? The Human Mind Under the Microscope, I think it was called, something like that. And one of the things it taught was to doing the visualisation thing. And it said, what you do is, one of the daft things that it got me doing was, it said get a matchbox, put it on, a cupboard or whatever, take a seat, so it's in front of you, keep looking at it and, staring at it for about 5-10 minutes, okay, lift the lid up, okay, sit back down and stare at it again with the lid up, open, halfway up. Just keep stirring it again and then put it back down. Just visualise you doing that, okay? Moving it up and down. And then what you do then is you sit back and you keep stirring at it. So take a couple of deep breaths, close your eyes and imagine you can still see the box in your mind. You can see the matchbox. So you're actually opening it with your mind now. You're not opening it physically. You're mentally opening it, okay? Right. So you physically do it and then you mentally do it. So you practice that. And after a while, what you do is when you get good at it, when you close your eyes, you can actually really see the box. You can actually see it. You know,
but it's not there.
It's not there.
You moved it, yeah.
And obviously, because you've felt it, you can actually feel what it feels like as well.
So you've seen it, you felt it, you know what it was
like,
there.
The sound of the box
So you've got that like a photograph in your mind.
Photographic thing in your mind, yeah. But you know what it feels like as well. So you're bringing emotion and physical into the sort of the mindset then, okay, the visualization. So you keep doing that. Close your eye and just imagine that, and then what you do, you sort of imagine that you can sort of move over, but you can actually go in the box. So now you're actually inside the box with the lid open, and you're stood in it.
Inside the matchbox?
Yeah, you're in the box. Yeah. It's a bit weird, isn't it, to sort of think you're doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're sort of in the box. What does it feel like touching sides and things like that?
So everything's like human size now. It's like,
you've just shrunk to the size of the box.
You shrunk down into, so you've actually got
so
right. So you're fitting into that now.
Yeah,
right.
so you're into the box.
Got it.
So you're doing that. And you keep practicing until eventually you don't even need the matchbox anymore. You could just sat watching telly.
And you can visualise that.
Or if you get a stressful situation, you can close your eyes for a few seconds and imagine the matchbox. And you're going into the matchbox, what's it like, and it's nice and quiet, you know, it's peaceful. You're away from all distractions. You start doing that.
So this could be done with. So this could be done with anything, I suppose. Matchbox is just one that they've used
just
as
one thing.
Right, because I've just while he was saying that, guys, I don't know if anyone was doing that, but I was actually just doing what Phil said mentally. I was seeing what Phil said. I was picturing a matchbox there in front of me. I pictured it. I mean, a bit of matches. I'm sure not everyone uses them these days. I know a lot of people don't use lighters or other types of ways of doing things, but I just did that, and I was picturing the matchbox. I was picturing going inside it, and I was seeing myself shrunk down. I just did that very quickly while you was doing it. Now, for that, some people might look at that and go, "What's that going to do? That's not going to help me." You know, this is just one method that Phil's talking about.
It's the most powerful thing in the world.
But that's your mind. You know, it's if your mind is right. You are right. If your mind's wrong, it's off, and that's it. And this is what Phil was. This is something me and Phil, you know, we both share this in common. I'm always saying it. You know, people say, you know, I might come to your do on Saturday night. I could do. I'm thinking about it. I might do. I'll let you know. Yeah. And for me, to me, are all fail.
They're not coming.
There you go. Just said it. They're not coming. I personally, I just say to people, I think it's because the fear. I mean, there's two sides of fear on that. One, the fear because they don't want to let you down, and the thought of the repercussion of this person feeling bad about you. That's the main cause, and it's the same. It's the opposite way of fear of rejection, which I mean that a lot of people. That's a phobia in itself, isn't it? You know,
it is,
people feeling like everybody the whole human race. The 7.2 billion people on this planet. Yeah. Pretty much the inane thoughts and feelings of us is we want to be loved. We want to be someone to appreciate us, whether it's through respect, whether it's through physically touching us and holding us, hugging us, being cared for or being looked after, whatever it is, whatever level. Every human being seeks that. They yearn it, don't they? To wanting to be loved and appreciated. And we do it in different ways and different fashions. Whether you what I do. I don't do Thai boxing for other people. Well, I do it for everybody because I love doing it. But the first person I did it for, the reason why I started, Phil, was for myself.
For you,
with the same as yourself, with the self-mastery program.
Right.
You did this through your own experiences. You've done 20 years of it. Now you're doing what I'm doing, which is helping people from your own experience. And obviously, you're good at what you do, and I like to think I was good at what I do. Yeah. And shaping and changing people's lives. And that's basically what we're here for, isn't it?
Yeah. And obviously, the thing with the matchbox, it's like, no, I'm not doing that. It's a bit daft, a bit silly, yeah, it is. But that's not the point. It's not about the matchbox. It's about the technique. You mentioned before about when I'm doing meditation, exercise and things like that. When I'm doing that, I might sort of sit in my car and look at, say, a tree or a leaf on the grass and just concentrate on that. And then I close my eyes and imagine that I'm getting a bit closer to the leaf, and I can see the veins in it and things like that. But not as I'm doing that as well, the birds are singing, like a robin singing or something like that. So I'm moving close to the robin. I'm actually stood at the side of the robin now, looking at its feathers and stuff like that. Can you see what I'm saying? So I've done all that through the matchbox technique, really.
Right.
I've sort of expanded on it.
Yeah, we'll talk about meditation for a minute, because a lot of people here know, we're going from phobias into depression. You've got to have this mindset of, like, if you're waking up, whether it's this morning or whether it's last week or over a period of time, and you keep having anxiety, depression, and keep having these things where you feel really, I mean, there's obviously different levels of it. I mean, right up to the suicidal thoughts that some people can have, which is so extreme and so sad. When they feel like they're worthless. Yeah. And I think everyone's experienced that. I remember I went through a part in my life, and I'm not going to touch it on today, but I went through something very similar myself about 25 years ago, and it was to do with a big show that I put on, a Thai boxing show, and I ended up breaking my foot. I was in plaster on my up to my knee on my Thai boxing show. It's the biggest show I ever put on. I lost 2 sponsors prior to the show, and the show was set to basically lose thousands of pounds. And it wasn't so much the money per se, but it was the thought of letting everybody down if I had to cancel it. Yeah. And so, of course, you go into this like danger mode in your mind, and you start running on adrenaline. You start doing almost erratic things to get the job done. And I remember after this show I put on, I brought people from all around the world. I got TV involved. I got Eurosport back then, which is called Screen Sport, and it cost me £10,000 to get TV to come and film it. So you can imagine £10,000 25 years ago, and that was just for the TV.
That's right.
For it was called an OB car, the outside broadcasting, so it could be screened, satellited through all of Europe, to like God knows how many, like 30 countries or whatever. And I brought fighters from Sweden, from Finland, from Holland, from Germany to fight the British team. And like I said, I think it was just less than a week out of the show, 2 sponsors pulled out, and I needed, there were 2 4-grand sponsors, so it wasn't even enough to get for the TV. So I lost £8,000 in a week, and they just decided they didn't want to sponsor it anymore. Less than 2 weeks, sorry. And then in the final week, because I was that stressed chasing sponsors and trying to get something to help me get the backing back up, because I'd already booked the TV and everything else, and paid all the flights of my own money, all the hotels and everything else. And to add insult to injury, excuse the pun, I was training with my teacher at the time, and I went over on my foot and snapped the metatarsal, broke a bone in my foot basically. I had to go to hospital, plastered up to the knee. I ended up doing my show with plaster on, and I was like hobbling around. And on top of that, I was in the OB van as well, commentating. So, and I was trying to keep a stable mind. I did it, I managed it, I survived it. Yeah. The show was a super success, but I lost on it. My brother actually, Bolton Car Centres, bcccars.com, the Northwest #1. That's his advert. BCC Cars, if you need a car. Sorry, a bit of a blatant plug there. He actually got Proton Cars, which were going back then, a Korean company. And he drove a car into the sports centre, put it on there, and he managed to get me £3,000 from the
ticket sponsored thing.
Yeah, so it sort of like saved a lot. Well, brilliant. He did well within a week's notice. So thank you, Mike Holt. So it sort of like stopped me from losing a vast amount of money. But as soon as the fight's finished, there was a massive come down. Yeah. And anyone who's put a show on, or anyone who does anything of any sort, and if you're just organising something at work, organising a family outing, organising a holiday, it doesn't matter what level, whether it's this big or it's this big, there's a come down from it anyway. But I had this super come down, which because of, like I said, the broken foot, the lack of sponsors, the loss of money, and I spent, I think, just short of a year organising this event. Yeah. And I'd say it's 25 years ago, and I crashed, and I have never ever been that low in my life, to the point where I was like this. I was like a zombie. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to go. I was going to the gym teaching, and I was going there, and I was a bit like a
zombie.
Yeah. It was the old, they say like a clown. I was like behind a painted smile. I had like a mask on with a smile on it. Yeah. Behind that mask was just like this. Yeah. And back then there was no, like now there's boxes for everything. A depression, anxiety, phobia, this, that. We put so many boxes these days. But it is what it is. So back then, I know now, going off what I've learned and what that I actually had depression, and I had it for quite a few weeks. From what I remember, it's 25 years ago. It's a long time now. So I was only 3 at the time. Mm-hmm. Joking. And I had depression. Now I know. And of course back then it wasn't. You know, you were either a bit of a K2, you're a bit of a weird. You know, you're having a breakdown, or you're mental, or you're not right. So, and of course, being a bloke as well, you know.
Yeah, it's a stigma with you being a Thai boxer and all that kind of stuff.
So I didn't go to the doctors. I didn't see anyone. I didn't get any help whatsoever. All I did was I dug myself out of depression just because I did and because I wanted to. But the point here, guys, and this is me, I said I didn't want to talk about it, I'm talking about it. But if it helps somebody, great. I went to go and get, after I think it was 4 weeks, I had to go and change my plaster because it was on for 6 weeks. And I lay in the bed in the hospital while the nurse who originally did thing in my leg, and she was replastering it. And I lay back and I felt burnt out, I felt knackered because of this 12 months doing this show. I lay back, I closed my eyes, and I'll admit this now on live, I actually said to myself in my brain, if I don't wake up, good.
Yeah.
And I'll admit this now live to everybody. You know, and anyone who knows Sandy Hook will know he's never depressed, he's never down, he's always happy. You know, I love my life. I love everything about my life. I love everything about my friends and Thai boxing and my gym and everybody that I've ever come across in my life. You know, I've got a massive passion for life, passion for everything.
Yeah.
And that state of mind then, Phil, I can't begin to tell you the darkest hole I've ever been in. And I only know this now because, like I said, only in the last only less than 10 years that depression has been put and labelled, where it's been addressed, you know, and mental health within like the NHS.
Celebrities and
look at the celebrities and stuff. Because you always think yourself, you think like, you know, you look at someone, you know, you see a famous singer, and you just think like, how can you kill yourself? How can you possibly even think about it when you've got all this money, you've got this, you know, big house, cars, holidays, clothes, you've got celebrity status, everyone worships the life out of you. You know, you've got everything going for you, and then you just overdose on drugs or alcohol.
Talk about that.
It's crazy.
Obviously, why people do that, obviously in another programme, because that's quite a big subject.
Yeah, we'll touch that again.
We can sort of talk about that, you know, because we'll probably talk about that for a couple of hours or so, if we really got into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of the things I'm covering is quite a big subject, really. It's quite, because what I do is quite diverse. Some of obviously the ways that I help people have sort of my own way, through my own experiences. This is the thing. It's looking for the right kind of help, and that's another thing as well. A lot of clients come to see me and are so overwhelmed with, you know, oh, I've seen this hypnotherapy, I've seen this psychotherapy, I've seen this meditation, this yoga, and they're going over all these things, you know. And what I say to them, I said the best thing to do really just think of one and just stick with it for a while.
Just going to say that I was going to focus on one.
Easy to,
too many.
Oh, I mean, if you've got like anxiety or phobia or something for like 20 years, and you go, I'll go to yoga for a week, you know, I'll be good. I'll be all right probably after a week. If you're not, it's going to take a little bit longer. So stick with it. I would say a minimum on something real would be 6 months.
Right. So that's the thing, is people looking for the quick fix, aren't they, Phil? And there's no such thing as there's no such thing as a quick fix. I always say to me that shortcuts lead to long scars. That's something I've said for many years.
Yeah.
So if you go for a quick fix, you know, you go, like for example, you know, you're a lady, you're suffering, you've got things, all these things. So I'll just go and have a spa, and you know, you get pampered, you get treated, you get all these nice things. Somebody gives it you as a present, whatever, and you absolutely have the best day of your life. And then you come out, and then you know you feel good for maybe a day or two, and then it just next minute you can crash again, sometimes worse, because you felt euphoric, you felt this nice feeling that you felt, you've been pampered, you've felt good. So, and I know you can't have 6 months of you know of pampering. We know that, you know.
It wears off.
There you go. So you know the magic wears off. It's like it's like a good meal. Went out for a nice meal last night in Manchester. It was amazing, but I haven't got it here now. You know, it wasn't there again this morning for breakfast. It won't be there this afternoon for lunch, and it might not be there ever again that I might get to do that meal again. But you've got to, like you said, as Phil just announced, 6 months doing a project, like you said, you know, yoga, doing martial arts, doing, you know, pole fitness, doing, you know, running, doing cycling, swimming. You know, swimming's another one that's quite good, because you don't have to feel like, because once you're in the water, so you don't have to worry about being body conscious. You know, you swim in the water holds your weight up. You can, you know, it's a good all round exercise that you can do. There's so much out there that you know, it's just finding something that suits you.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people come to me now. They've done some, is it Reiki? They've done
Reiki, yeah.
you know, Tai Chi, all those types of things. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. There's not.
No.
But if that obviously suits you, then you stick to that. But that's the sort of the gist that I got with a lot of my clients was they're overwhelmed with things.
So the main thing you're saying there, Phil, is like, you know, because somebody's pointed in all these because we do. Somebody said the other day to me, they went, who's been suffering with a back for a long time.
Yeah.
And they've been and had physiotherapy. They've been to a chiropractor. They've had Thai massages. They've had pretty much the whole thing, you know, with different. And they've been to about 5 or 6 different physiotherapists. No one's been able to sort his back out. Been to see a doctor. Been to see a specialist. You know, it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And then he's got this final thing coming up, and his words were, and this makes sense. I'll try anything if it can be fixed.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to try these different things that suit you.
Yeah.
But the point is that Phil's saying and I'm saying is, you know, it's like people come to me and say, somebody asked me recently, I need to learn some self-defence very quickly because I'm being attacked. I've been attacked and I've got somebody who's threatening me, blah, blah, blah. Can you teach me you know, in 6 lessons how to look after myself? And I was like, 6 lessons?
Yeah.
It took me nearly 7 years to become a qualified teacher, get me grades, and that to become competent, just to be able to. It's like this is you'll get this, and everybody you're watching will get this. You only start learning how to drive when you pass your test. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Because you can actually go out on your own, and you can then start to learn how to drive, and you make more mistakes in the first 12 months. You probably have more bumps. I got told this, and it's true. You'll have more bumps and accidents and scrapes and near misses in the first 12 months than you probably will in the next 10 years after.
Yeah.
So the point Phil's making and I'm making here is stick to one thing if you can. And as Phil said, you know, give it at least 6 months. I know that for some people, and they think, I haven't got 6 months. Well, you know, you have. Because if you don't, you know, if you don't allow yourself something to do something, now, you know, it takes longer than 6 months for a woman to bear a child. You know, there's 2 6 months in a year. You know, how long do you want to keep waiting for something? And, you know, you can't expect something now like that. You know, we live in that society where everything's instant. You know, you can go on your phone now, you can order food off it. You know, you can get your supermarket delivered to your thing. You can watch us on here, which is a great asset. You know, but what?
Yeah.
You know,
it's becoming overwhelmed with things.
Yeah.
We mentioned this in the other podcast as well about doing this whole matters about that. It's bringing it all back to basics, really.
Yeah.
About being overwhelmed with things, you know. I mean, just like 20 years ago since I started my training and what I do now. And obviously, you know, I wanted to fix the world when I first started. You're like, oh, I've got all these great things, and you do it and it doesn't work. You're thinking, it's a bit weird that, because they said do this and do that, and it'll work, and then you see somebody else, like, you'll do it and you'll get great results out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what's going on here? And it's only through experience that you've got to realise that it's not one glove fits all. This is another thing as well. So that's another thing I explain to my clients when they come. They're overwhelmed with all these different things, and that's why. Because you give it a week and it doesn't work, and you try something out that doesn't work, you become overwhelmed with it. You know, so you've got to go back to the basics again. Just try it for 6 months. You know.
So in other words, basically see it through, give it a good go, because obviously, like you said, one size doesn't fit all, and you know, if you don't, you can say, well, I wasted 6 months, it didn't work for me, but think of all the, you know, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands that it did work for. So there's obviously proven methods, isn't there? You wouldn't direct somebody into a way of thinking. It's like me putting somebody on a 6 month training program with me, and at the end of the 6 months it doesn't work. Well, I know it does work because I've got thousands and thousands of students, you know, that it's worked on. You know, just talking in there before, got a guy I've been training with for 6 months now. He's just had his first interclub the other week at the Roundhouse in Bolton, and he'd been absolutely buzzing because he had something to focus for. But while he was doing that, he wanted to lose weight. He started at the gym at 125 kilograms. Yeah. He went into his interclub at 89, so he lost 36 kilograms. Now that's not just me and patting the back for Sandy and my team. No, it was because he was watching what he was eating, He was working with his missus. He's got a family. He's got a wife. He's got kids.
Yeah.
And he just went on this campaign. So he started, cutting down all the, as I would call it, crap. The old McDonald's and the KFCs and all the fast food, which is just fast food. Really, if you take the S out of fast, it tells you what it is. Yeah. And that's not going to do you any good. It's very addictive, and it's bad for us. So it's all right to have a bit of it sometimes. We all need it.
Yeah.
But we are what we eat and drink, and I do feel that our energy is built on that, because sometimes you can have a quick injection of, like, you can say have a coffee with 2-3 sugars in it, and you get a sugar rush and you feel great. But what happens after a high?
You get the law.
You get a crash.
Yeah.
And that happens in a lot of carbohydrate foods. And this is why they're saying about a lot of high protein's good for you. And I'm not going to touch on diet.
Yeah, so becoming overwhelmed with things, I've mentioned that on the podcast as well. And that's why you've got to really take things back down to the basics again. It's really important to do that. And when a client comes to see me, they might want that quick fix thing, which 99% of the people do.
Yeah.
But like you said, we live in a society that you want it now.
Right.
You could cook yourself a nice meal, couldn't you, and really enjoy it, but yet you'd rather pick your phone up and get one delivered to your house. It's that type of thing. I want it now.
Yes. Yeah, it's the want it now society, isn't it? Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely.
But if you think of, if you've got a phobia or a fear of something, you're expecting to sort of get rid of it overnight. It's not happening. You've got to be realistic as well.
Yes.
Can you see me there, Sandy? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So you've got to be realistic about things as well, because there is a process that you've got to go through. It's like everything you learn, you've got to start from basics.
Yeah.
And work your way up. I mean, I mentioned before about when I first started my training, I give you a few tips on how I learnt about visualisation, and then once I'd done that, I got proficient of that. I could put myself in any position anywhere in the world, basically, my mind.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So I got really proficient at that. But what I did then, I used that and taught other people to do it. That's basically what I've done.
Right.
Really. It's like learning martial arts, isn't it? You learn your punches, your kicks, and after a bit, you don't have to think about that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yes.
And just bring yourself back down to the basics.
Oh, thank you.
And learn little techniques that I've mentioned before. Obviously,
Right.
you could look at.
Thank you.
You could look at anything else. It don't have to be the matchbox, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just an explanation of it.
So
how we did
just,
it.
I mean, obviously we talked about a lot of things. We've only got probably got a good 5 minutes left now.
Yeah.
Touching on the depression thing, what would you say to someone now who's watching this, Phil, that is literally, they woke up this morning and they're on a seesaw. They're thinking, like, you know what? I wish I weren't here. I'm a burden to people in society. I've had enough. I just, I can't get myself out of this feeling.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of good family and friends around me. Yes, I've already got that, because obviously some people have got this network, some people haven't. But let's look at someone now who has got a good, and I've talked to a lot of people who've had a good family behind them.
Yeah.
They've got good friends, or a good relationship even, whatever. They could have pets, they could have, the dog, a cat, whatever. So they've got this, they've already got everything in place, what we see as normal and nice and comfortable, whatever. But they're still now, they've got this feeling of, I'm a burden, I shouldn't be here. I don't want to be here. Sorry. What would you what's your rescue tip for that? What would I know there's no quick fix per se, but what would you say to someone in that state of mind, Phil?
What I would do, really, I mean, some of the things I say sometimes people don't agree with, obviously, because that's why I do it, to get them into a different mode. It's sort of, you might be in the wrong group of people. Birds of a feather flock together.
Right. So even though you think you've got a good
you
group,
think you like your family. Yeah. It's a perfect example. We used that before, haven't we?
Yes.
That, my brother loves me, my sister loves me, is really helping me, but they're not helping you. Think about it. All they're doing is they're adding to that.
So it's basically feeding it.
Yeah, you're not. If you think about it, because you've got to go back to the basics again. If you think about when you're feeling like that and you're thinking about your brothers and sisters, no, it's not about you anymore now. It's about them. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you're letting them down, but you're not really letting them down. You're letting yourself down. It's sort of a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yes.
So if you're sort of looking at them for help, you're sort of adding to the depression, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what you've got to do, you've got to look outside the box. You've got to look at maybe talking to somebody you don't know. They get a completely different spin on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of birds of a feather flock together. Look at people, who are sort of done that before and got through that. You know, but sympathy's okay, but it's not good. It's horrible to say.
No, you're right. It's, you know, again, we talked on that. We just sat in the Bolton FM studio canteen. We were having a chat, having a quick brew before we came in here, and we're saying that, Phil, that you know, if you go to a depression group, everybody in the room's talking about
depression.
If, you know, you go into an anxiety group, everyone's going to be talking about
Anxiety.
So, if you go and sit in a group of people who maybe have had anxiety and had anxiety or depression, and they start talking about how they got out of it and what they're doing now, even though it's the same group per se, it's a successful group rather than an unsuccessful group, and that's not calling the groups. These groups are good. Please don't think. Support groups are there for a reason. Don't ever think I'm calling them. I'm not. We can't do without them. That's what they're there for. But I think once you've been to one and once you realise, now right, I've got it off my chest. I spoke to things. Then talk to somebody who's actually got over it and see what they did. What was their technique? What did they do? And what gives them happiness now? Because obviously everybody who's watching this has had and is having and will have happiness, you know. And I know that sometimes there's a lot of, you know, cliche sayings, filling the light. You know, every cloud's got a silver lining. I believe that. I look up and I love looking up at the sky. I do it. You've probably seen my Facebook status so many times. There's a picture of the sky, there's a picture of the sun, picture of the sky, picture of the sun, picture of a sunset, picture of a sunrise. Even sometimes you might see a picture of the rain, because it does rain. You know, you can't have pleasure without pain. That's life. But if you've never experienced, say if you only ever had pain all your life, how would you know what pleasure was? And you can reverse that. If you've only ever been brought up with a silver spoon and you've only ever had pleasure your whole life, the minute you have pain, you'll be in a world of it, won't you? You'll have to prick your finger and you think you're dead. So because you've never experienced it, it's the balance of life. You know, we've got to accept that we're going to have good times, we're going to have bad times, but you know, bad times, will come and go. And good times will come and go.
Yeah, and that's basically what I do. That's what I teach people with the self-mastery program. I give them the tools to get over that. If I could use an example of myself, really, when I first started on my journey to self-improvement, if you want to call it that, but it's over 20 years ago, you know, 25, 30 years ago now, trying all different things again. And obviously, that's why I'm where I am now. I thought, I hit on something, I thought, it's working. But I suffered from depression for about 10, 15 years, something like that, suicidal, you know, driving down the street, I just wanted to keep going and just keep going into that wall, you know, mad things in your head. I'd like going somewhere, I'd stop and forget where I'm going, but I'd also forget where I lived. Horrible. You know, I can't go that way and I can't go that way. I just don't know what I'm doing.
So you're just in a world of nowhere.
It's gone blank, but obviously looking back now, and obviously my training, and obviously birds of a feather flock together, and all little things I picked up along the way that I use. I mean, it's life experience, isn't it, as well? I use that with my clients then, because what I realised now was when I was depressed, I was going to other people that were depressed. My mate's house or something like that. We were all in the same boat. Half of them was on sort of medication for it. I wasn't. You know.
So you're basically forming the same queue, aren't you? You're walking in a queue of depression, coming out with a queue of depression. So you're not escaping it, are you?
You're not escaping
and for
it.
as much as a lot of times, you know, you can go on a holiday, and like I said, this is the quick fix things. You know, we need them. Don't stop doing them. You know, if it makes you feel good, don't stop doing things that make you feel good. If something that you do and you do it well, doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter if you know, whether you sew things, you knit things, whether you teach people, whether you train people, whether you're good at writing poems. It doesn't matter. I've said this all my life. Every single human being on this planet's got a talent, and it's finding it. That's the hard thing. I found mine. I found my forte. I know what I'm here on this planet for. I'm here to teach people martial arts, Thai boxing, right from wrong, good from bad, self-control, self-respect. And you know, I make mistakes. You know, only the other week I put something up on Facebook on a subject that got people all rattled. To apologise.
We can talk about that, can't we?
And I can talk about that forever. And it's just but that's done a lot of it, because remember, there's no tone in text. You know, you know, if as I'm saying this to you now, if I say to you, I don't like you, I'm smiling and saying it, and you wouldn't take offence to that. Now, if I said it like this, I don't like you. I've said the exact same words with a different tone and also a different expression as well. But you know, if you can't see a person's face and you can't hear how it's said, that can be taken on so many bad levels. You know, I don't like you. Look at my face. I don't like you, Phil. And you just go, yeah, whatever. You know, punching it.
That's it.
And you would not be. You know, you won't fall out with me over that. You know, so and that's the bad side to Facebook. The good side to Facebook is that it brings friends closer. It helps them. You can get to talk to the world, listen to other people's stories, which is what we do here on this. Anyway, guys, I literally we've got 30 seconds left. So if you want to speak to Phil on a personal level, you can contact him on the Self Mastery Program, which is, you can see his logo there, SMP.
Facebook, you'll see it.
It's Facebook. Just go into your Facebook tab where it says search, friends and names. Just put Self Mastery Program, or you can go onto his own Facebook name, which is Philip Monaghan. Monaghan is spelled Monaghan. And Phil's got a website, which is the 3 W's, as all websites are. Philip, that's with 1 P, and then Monaghan.
1 L, not 1 P.
1 L even. Sorry, what am I talking about? Let's rewind. Delete that bit. Philip, 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 okay, Monaghan, monaghan.co.uk. And Phil can work with you on any of the things we've touched on today, but many more things, guys. You'll see if you speak to him. Phobias, depression, anxiety, smoking cessation, so many different facets to what Phil can help you with. So if you're interested, and if I can help you guys, obviously I do it through my platform, is through Thai boxing, but I can, it's just a quick chat on an inbox, guys. If I can give you any help, I'm here.
You could do obviously both together, couldn't we, as well?
Yes.
Birds of a feather flock together for a reason, don't they? So you've got to look at, we mentioned physical, we also mentioned mental as well. If you put them two together, you've got a great combination there, which is basically what I did. I did the martial arts for years and years. Started when I was about 11, moving on to that, and moving on to what I'm doing now. So it's a fantastic combination, really, with your experience and my experience as well.
Tag team.
Wow.
We're going to get you on a tag team. So, guys, if you've learned anything today, if you've got anything from it, I hope you have. And thanks for watching and tuning in. And if you're not already on now, okay, obviously this will go out. I'll put it so that it's public and everyone can have a look. And if you don't mind sharing it, if you think this might benefit anyone, would be much appreciated. On a personal level for myself, I want to thank Phil Monaghan for coming in today at short notice again. We're always looking for guests. I'm always looking for guests. Obviously, we had the most famous Paddy McGuinness in on Friday. We'll be having other people on, certain people on my hit list. Vinnie Showman, another gentleman in this network of mind coaching and helping people out in that area. Rich Cadden from York, love to get him on. Some Thai boxing great teachers. Stuart Hurst, Grandmaster Skem, my teacher. I'd like to get him in, actually. Kevin Lloyd, another one. Carl, okay, any of my instructors. Jussie, Craig, Garvis, and Juliana, any of those, love to have them on. Jess from the gym, Jess Bowman, okay, you make an interesting one in here. I've got some Zara Pythian, I don't know how I say her name wrong. Chris Crudelli, great. Matt Fides, Matt's expressed a wish to come on. Matt's was one of the gentlemen that used to look after the minder of Michael Jackson.
That's right, yeah.
So he said he'll come on when he's up this way.
Yeah.
So quite a few people. Got an ex-England cricketer, Ronnie Irani. I'd like to get another one of my friend instructors, Ronnie Thompson, on. Oh, the list is endless. If I miss somebody off, I do apologise. But yeah, if you want to fancy coming in, Amir Khan, okay, I'd like to get him on as well. Yeah. So many people that I'd like to do. Peter Kay will be a good one. You put some suggestions under here. Saul Rogers, the MMA legend from Bolton. Joe Tierney. There's loads of people. Trevor Roberts.
I'm thinking of him.
Trevor would be amazing. Need to get Trevor on, and his son Brendan. So, guys, tag a friend, share this away, please. Thank you for watching. And if I can help you, you know where I am. All right, guys. So, last words, Phil, when I just switch off from the Sandy's Bash blog. Right. You want to say goodbye to the listeners?
Bash Bosh.
This Bash Bosh.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, so like we mentioned before, but it's really important that taking that first step. And if you are suffering, from depression, you feel suicidal, it's really, really important that you speak to somebody. Speak to me, give me a call, text me, do whatever it takes. But trying to get out of that circle that you're in, or the cycle is really what you're in, and you look at different ways to get outside the box, because you're in that box, that's what it feels like. You need to get out of that box. There's a whole new approach to different things. So yeah, so that's another tip for today. and I look forward to hearing from anybody. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. See you again.
Really,
Goodbye.
thank you.
Oosh.